These are going to be 3 secrets I don't share with anyone about how to get in alignment with your desires. So like I said, shh. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 secrets that I personally use to get into alignment with my desires. Some of these are going to sound a little bit weird. I'm going to tell you that right now. And when I say weird, I mean just different. Kind of different. Like different than the way that you may learn from like the Abraham Hicks way of going about getting into alignment. If you're wondering what getting into alignment means, think about it in terms of vibrational and then alignment. So imagine that your desires are over there, and what happens is you want to get in alignment with it. Well, if you ever studied Abraham Hicks, what Abraham Hicks talks about is how you need to elevate your state, how to think a better feeling thought. And as you keep doing that, you start to get into this high vibrational vortex. And then as you're in this high vibrational vortex, it's like all these things magnetize themselves to you. So if you want to get in alignment with your desires, you got to feel better. So that's what Abraham Hicks talks a lot about. If you studied Abraham Hicks content, you probably are familiar with that. Think about it also, there's the scale of consciousness that I share, which is from the book called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, which has the different levels of vibration. It's even color-coded because it makes it a little bit more understandable from the terms of how we symbolically relate to colors. And what you'll see is this scale is also the Abraham Hicks scale in a way, where it talks about, oh, well, you can't get there from there. So Abraham Hicks will tell you, well, if you want to feel love or joy, you can't get there from feeling shame. You can't just jump from one to the other. You're going to have to feel shame, then you feel hopeful, then eventually you feel maybe neutrality, then acceptance, and then you move your way up. Now, when we talk about alignment of desires, and what I'll be sharing with you in this video is also some that maybe I've seen other people use, other celebrities, not even knowing it necessarily, but nonetheless has been extraordinarily powerful. So first one I want to share is and has to do with something that is known as decreasing importance. I've talked about it before. There's a guy that I just was watching a UFC fight with, I was watching a UFC fight of him. His name is John Jones. He's a UFC fighter, and he was actually known. Here's a picture of John Jones right here. I'm gonna have Daniel, the amazing editor, go flash a little thing of John Jones and put one of John Jones in action. Daniel, let's see that. And then now do one of John Jones in a suit. Now do one of John Jones casual with his family. Okay, so now there's different notes here that we can relate to, right? So when you see John Jones right now, he was somebody that used to get in a lot of trouble. Show John Jones at a trial or something. So now you see John Jones and all around, he's cleaned up his act a lot, and he's a UFC fighter, and he's considered one of the best fighters of all time. He's undefeated. And he was talking about, now back in the day, a couple years ago, John Jones was known for kind of getting into trouble. He did some things that got him into a lot of trouble. Now, what he would do is he would get in a lot of trouble when he was drunk, when he was doing like drugs and alcohol. What happened is he told Joe Rogan on Joe Rogan's podcast, picture of him with Joe Rogan, and what you'll see is him with Joe Rogan, he was telling Joe that what he used to do is before his fights, about a week before, what he would do is he would go on a complete binger where he would get blackout drunk a week before his fights. Now, keep in mind, he's a high-level UFC fighter. He hasn't lost any fights even to this day. But what he would do is he said he would do that so that if he did lose, then he could blame it on that. So now this, on the surface, looks a certain way. For him to get in alignment with his desire, what may have been happening is he was getting too much importance, too much resistance towards his goal. So what he did to get in alignment with that is he actually did something like do something that would then show him that if he did lose, it was because of him going on that blackout drunk thing a week before. So what he did there is he would decrease the importance. And that decrease in the importance then made it easier for him to be loose and him not to have so much resistance. So in the same way in our own life, the thing we can become aware of is, do we have resistance around this thing? Now, so this is the mentality frame that I have around that of alignment with my desires, with what I want to experience in my life. Cool if it happens, cool if it doesn't. Now, here's the thing behind this too. Realize that once you get to a certain level of success or something you want to experience, that's just natural for your self-image. It's just natural for that version of you. From the version of you that's down here that's like,
oh my goodness, that would be amazing.
From that perspective, it's like, I can't wait to be up there. That'd be so cool. And then from the perspective of you being up there, you are like,
this is just natural for me.
this is just something that I experience on a day-to-day basis because it is who I am. So do you see the difference there? And the key that I realize is that by the time this gets there, that's how it'll be, natural. So what I do to get alignment is I view it as natural right now. If I were to go into my work in my old sales job and be like, oh my God, it'd be so amazing if I were to sell
$5,000, it'd be so amazing. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness.
then I'd be creating it on a pedestal, creating a lot of resistance. But instead, if I went in like, okay, it's cool if I do, it's cool if I don't. I'm just, this is who I am. It's a part of the identity. And when it's a part of the identity, it's much more likely to actually happen. Now, something else that I do, the second way that I get into alignment, kind of weird, is what I do is I watch and I consume content from people that are already where I want to be. And what I do is I will, in a way, try that on. Try it on. What I mean by that is like, for example, there's a documentary called I Am Not Your Guru on Netflix by Tony Robbins. Or, you know, it's about being at his events. Well, I one day want to have an event like that. Down the road, of course, you know, 2,000 to 5,000 people is a lot of people. But eventually that is a long-term goal. But what I would do is I would watch it. Let me show you right over here. Let me show you this. So what I would do is I would watch that with, is it possible for me to, okay, zoom in. I don't really do this. Look at that. Could you put some amazing epic music here, Daniel? No, different music than that. Thank you. You see that right there? That's a rebounder. Tony Robbins uses rebounders. Oh my goodness. Then that's my television set. So what I do is I will use that, jump on it, just like Tony Robbins does. And then I will look at that right there and it'll be like, I'm not your guru. And what happens is then it's like I'm putting myself and I imagine that that's kind of my everyday reality. Whoa, one sec. Let me zoom this back. It's still very zoomed in. I'm zooming out now. Hello. Thank you for coming back here today, everyone. So today, that's pretty much what I would do. So another way that I would do this is if I was driving, back in the day, I'd be driving to work, working that 9-to-5 job, and I would listen to a recording of Tony Robbins. And what I would do is I would kind of pay attention to the language patterns. I would, in a way, when you read someone's book, you begin to link up your thought patterns to theirs. You begin to kind of get inside their mind a little bit and tap into that vibration. So I would intentionally do that also by listening to the audios that he would create and that he had, and then I would kind of like, I'd almost put myself into that mind state. It's almost like I was linking that up. So that's something else that I've done to get in alignment, is I found somebody that I want to, in a way, be somewhat like, and then to try on what that may be like at that level of doing live events, of speaking in a certain way, of having that kind of dynamic influence on people. I kind of pay attention to all that. So you could do that as well by finding someone that, you know, an art gallery owner or something. I always kind of use that example, but something like that. And then linking up with their daily habits, what they do, how they show up in the world, and that will help you understand as well how you can do the same. Now, the third one's the weirdest one, okay? The third way I get into alignment is the weirdest alignment. I use sound and mantras to get myself to a certain state. Now, here is to the extent that I use it. So first off, sound and mantras. We already know that sound influences matter. Sound has an effect on water molecules, and it's, you know, most of our body is water. So something that I will do is sometimes when I am meditating on something I want to experience in my life and get into alignment especially, is I will hum or do Om mantra. It's like this, is Om. And as I do that, I visualize maybe negative energy leaving my body, or I visualize myself in a higher vibrational state, it's almost like toning is something that it just helps facilitate that vibrational shift, that vibrational change. Because as you vibrate, you're changing, you're moving quicker, and then it's like you're able to let go of resistance and also elevate your vibrational state of consciousness. Now, look at this handy dandy chart here, Daniel. Let's do the chart again, the vibrational chart. So you see it right again? Now, what you notice is that at the top, if you were to calibrate the Om mantra, it calibrates at about 720, I believe. It's a very high vibration. So if you want to raise your vibration to get in alignment with your desires, that's what you want to do, is do an Om mantra for a couple minutes a day. It will help you to release emotion that you don't want to be. A lot of alignment really is, it's getting rid of the blockages. It's getting rid of the resistance. When you get rid of the resistance, you've got a clear, even flow, and it's much easier to go. Okay, now here's the weird thing I was going to tell you. This is what I used to do. It's a little bit different, but I used to always have this feeling that like rap music, okay? Think about like rap music, just music in general. When somebody creates music and they are saying it with a certain frequency and a certain emotion, they get very passionate about it, I feel like that goes out, it's vibration, it goes out. And especially when many people are hearing that same thing and getting into the same elevated emotion and seeing people, for example, you got Lil Wayne talk about getting to the money, all right? Lil Wayne is getting to the money and talking about how he's living in I like Lil Wayne, but he's talking about how he's living in like a baller mansion or something. Well, when he's at his concerts, he's saying that, or even just people are listening to him in the car, they're actually visualizing Lil Wayne getting to the money. It's almost like it increases probability and there's more emotion that's being added into the collective consciousness that in a way facilitates Lil Wayne getting the money. Okay? So I know it's a very esoteric idea, but there is a collective consciousness we're all connected to. And anytime mass amount of people focus on something, it grows probability for that thing. So one thing I used to do, now I never performed this, I'm not a professional rapper by any means, but this is what I used to do with my old job, my 9-to-5 job, selling women's shoes. I'd go into work, and this happened a couple times where this happened detailed to the point, to the actual, like, it was crazy. So what I did is I went on my lunch break sometimes. Sometimes on my lunch break working at Nordstrom's in women's shoes, I would park in the basement, which employees were not allowed to do, but I was a rebel. I would park in the basement, and I would go into my car. And what I would do is I would relax. I would put on some beat instrumentals. Normally, Forget About Dre. Have you ever heard of that? There's a beat instrumental to that. And I was like, it's like my car's booming. Then what I would do is I would begin I used to like to free flow. I just thought it was fun to free flow and to get out of the mind, like the logical mind. And the more loose you'd allow yourself to get, the more you come up with creative riffs and creative things on the spot. So what I would do is I would do that. And what I figured out eventually is, what if I were to rap about my day? Okay? So that's what I did. It's like, what if I rapped about what I wanted to create when I go back from this lunch break thing? So there were a couple times I did this to a T. So I was rapping about the kind of customer I wanted to help. And I remember I wanted to help customers with this brand of shoe called Tory Burch. These shoes, Tory Burch, they were just like $197 or something like that, or $199 or something, but $195 now that I remember. But they were normally very easy to sell. And sometimes I'd help customers from Mexico who were like the best customers. And what they would do is they'd come in, they wouldn't want the boxes, sin caja pero con bolsa, no boxes but with a shoe bag. And that means they're not going to return it. So what I would do is I rapped about how I wanted to help a family of people that they all wanted Tory Burch shoes, and they all said sin cajas pero con bolsas, okay? I rapped about this. And I rapped about how it would be a whole family. And I got into an elevated emotion about it. Remember, increased intention, elevated emotion. It's like magic. So I do that. I'm rapping about it. I go back in from that lunch break, and within literally 10, 15 minutes, I help a family of customers from Mexico that I have a great interaction with them. They buy many pairs of Tory Burch and sin caja pero con bolsa. Okay? it was like magic to me. Now this is a weird way to get into alignment, but it's a way to get into alignment. Now if you like weird things like this, or if you like me to share how to get in alignment, how to achieve your goals, how to change your identity, these are things I share on the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can subscribe below. Now every single one of us has what is called a dominant vibration, and there are 3 weird ways that I found to change my dominant vibration to attract the kind of life that I live today, which is like my dream life. So that's something that's very powerful. I share some things I've never shared before. That video will be right here. Go ahead and click there, 3 weird ways to change your dominant vibration. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Peace, much love, and namaste.